welcome to part 3 of this 4-part series of the in-depth understanding and the hidden equipment you find on a latitude. And this part discusses the baggage compartment with all the hidden equipment you find behind the pressure bulkhead. So let's enter the baggage compartment and start with the fire protection equipment you find here. Here you have the baggage compartment air exhaust that is made to keep the fire contained inside this compartment and that it will not enter the tail cone. This tube is basically one way with a filter and can only let air out and block fire. Now during descent, when this compartment is like a vacuum, it will prevent fire from escaping to the tail cone because it is actually sucking in air, so you don't need it both ways open. Now here's the other fire protection, the optical smoke detector. Now we have two of them inside the baggage compartment. The other one is on the other side of this picture. If light is being dimmed by this detector, by smoke, for more than 1 minute, so it actually has a 1 minute delay, this box will trigger the baggage fire alarm in the cockpit. But it will not auto-extinguish, so keep that in mind. Also, the alarm is being inhibited by the TOPI, meaning that if you're in a takeoff, it will actually inhibit this alarm for 30 seconds after takeoff, or at least 400 feet AGL. So if you do get one after takeoff, say at 1000 feet, keep in mind that you might already have something burning in the back for more than a minute. So you have to press the baggage fire button to start extinguishing the fire. Now, if you press it, even without any alarm, it will open up both bottles, being the APU fire extinguisher bottle and the MDR bottle in the nose. Now, a couple of years ago I was in Wichita and I asked Cessna from why they actually place such a heavy bottle, big bottle in the nose and not right next to the baggage compartment. And they told me that they needed something heavy in the nose to balance the aircraft heavy tail. Hence that's the reason why they put this big bottle in the nose. Now pressing the baggage fire button will open up both bottles. The HDR, as it's called, the high discharge rate APU bottle, and the MDR, or a metered discharge rate bottle in the nose. Now the MDR bottle can slowly extinguish the fire, while the HDR is actually for an instant fire extinguishing. Now what do I mean by slowly? By the books it says 180 minutes between flight level 330 and flight level 390. And this is in case, of course, you're over water or a place you cannot land and you have to fly for a long time and make sure that the whole thing does not burn down. Now keep in mind, you normally want to land as soon as possible, but if that's not the case, you at least have the 180 minutes. When you start the descent, you want to press the secondary baggage fire button, also in the checklist, I guess. So it opens up the MDR bottle wider, so it extinguishes better before landing. Now here are the extinguisher outlets. Alright, so that's about the fire extinguishing in the baggage compartment. Let's continue now to the hidden equipment. And keep in mind that this is just nice to know stuff. This is way more information than you probably need. And also this is definitely not part of the walk around. It's just nice to know. You're getting the bigger picture with this information. So what do we have behind the Velcro? Well, the two large panels here are the J-box circuit breakers. Things like the taxi light, the boost pumps, ADF, your VEDA computer, etc. Now keep in mind that if you know them or maybe not know, only 30% about of these circuit breakers will actually trigger a remote CB CAS message in the cockpit. And the other items you will not know about. Or if the system fails, it might trigger you to, hey, maybe I should look at the J-box circuit breaker. Maybe something has popped there because the system doesn't work. In this picture, the CBs with the star will actually give you a remote CB CAS message. And those without a star, you actually do not know if the CB is popped or not. Right, now below here are the left hand and the right hand emergency J-box circuit breakers. Things like the cabin door motor, the ignition, the ELT, the rudder bias, etc. Those are located here. Again, only about 30-40% will trigger a remote CAS message if one of them popped. Right. Now let's look at the panel above here. This panel will actually lead you to the tail cone LRUs, line replacement units, and the ELT. First thing you'll see when you look up is the ELT. And this box is not only transmitting on 1 to 1.5, but actually also another emergency, which is called 243.0 and 406.0, more for the military. It is even able to transmit underwater. So quite an able system. The circuit breakers are actually on the J-box. Here a picture of all the equipment you can find behind the ELT. Just for orientation, the J-box circuit breakers are right below the LRUs. Yeah, basically LRU is the name of any box, system box you have here. So what do you find here? Well, things like the ADF cockpit voice recorder, the radio altimeter. And yeah, a lot of Garmin stuff is located here. From my understanding, if some of the items could not be fitted in the cockpit, they actually put them here as well. And there's a place on the right top here that we do not have. That is a storm scope. Now, Netje decided not to buy this equipment because we have Connex weather that also gives you the little crosses to show you the lightning strikes. Now, however, it is too bad because the storm scope itself will not only show you accurate without any delay lightning strikes, but actually also shows you the movement of the lightning strikes, which Connex cannot do. But okay, we don't have it. Alright, let's go back inside the baggage compartment and let's look at the left cover here. If you open that up, you see the flap control relay box. This drives a DC motor that moves the flaps and protects it from over-torquing. It also stops the flaps in case of the resolver, which is located on the outboard flap, is signaling an asymmetry or an opposite movement or a uncommanded movement of the flaps. Yeah, this box also sends the information of the flap position to the ICE display in the cockpit. And then we have one more hidden item, and that is located on top of the spar when you just entered the baggage compartment. They are covered up with the Velcro and also behind the cover. So when you remove the cover, you can see the left and right engine alternator diagnostic plug with its 15 amp CB. This line will also lead you to the nose compartment where the AC regulators are located. Alright, that completes the baggage compartment area, and let's continue with where all the hydraulic equipment is located. So if you exit the baggage compartment and you look forward in between the flaps and the cabin compartment, below there is where the whole hydraulic section is located. And there's a big metallic panel with the hydraulic equipment in front of it, which is hooked up to it, and on the back. On the back side you have the bootstrap accumulator, and below you have your aux pump that you can use for a maximum of 2 minutes in a row, because that thing gets bloody hot when you use it for a little while. That's why the limit is there. On the other side of this panel you have your main accumulator and your reservoir, as you can see in this picture. Alright, now let's have a talk about the antennas you find on the Latitude. And there's some interesting information I can give you. Behind the hydraulic system, where we are right now, you have your big COM3 antenna. Now there are 3 of these big antennas, and the COM2 antenna we will check later, that is located below the main cabin door. And the COM1 antenna, as you can see here on top. Again, if you suspect a bird strike or just doing a good walk around, check these 3 antennas for any cracks. Interesting thing to know, if you want to receive the ATIS and there is no ACARS, we normally use COM2. But if you are parked remotely and cannot really receive the ATIS, or really bad, try using COM1, as this antenna is higher up and is less likely being blocked by ground buildings. So you normally find that COM1 antenna actually receives the ATIS a lot better than COM2. And the same counts for COM1 in the air. If you're flying right above a station, or the station is right in front of you, where the nose is actually blocking the COM1 signal, you actually find that COM2 is actually working better. But not very often this happens, because you're always flying at an angle or there are repeaters on the ground. Now the COM3 data link antenna is also a VHF signal, and that means that it's line of sight. So again, this might be blocked by buildings on the ground. But here you do not have any other options than that antenna. So you have to do with what you have. So if you're in a building, or a building is actually blocking you from a signal, then it might be that you cannot use any data connection from this antenna. However, your aircraft will probably have Wi-Fi on the ground, because on the ground it connects to internet via cellular network. So it does not use a satellite for that. And this also means you have a lot faster internet connection on the ground. The moment when the squad switch is released and you're airborne, it switches over to airborne Wi-Fi, or airborne internet I have to say, where it uses satellite, and it's a lot slower connection. Now keep in mind, we as crew, we're not supposed to use the internet and the Wi-Fi, because it's freaking expensive using the satellite Wi-Fi, so it'll only be for packs. Also make sure that your iPhone, like in my case, I have the Wi-Fi normally turned on automatically. It then automatically connects to the Wi-Fi of the aircraft, and it still gives me internet, so I have to make sure that I turn off the Wi-Fi, so it's not automatically downloading stuff from my phone. Another interesting antenna to mention is the TCAS on top of the entrance. And this antenna is very sensitive to de-icing fluid, and will actually stop working if sprayed on directly. So if you are doing de-ice, please tell the people to avoid this TCAS antenna. And if it has been sprayed upon, or it's really wet, you can try to clean it around the antenna to avoid any TCAS problems. And another interesting receiver is the magnetometer, as you can see here. That replaces the old flux valves you find in a lot of wingtips of older aircraft. That will give you all kind of problems in places like London City, where you have the old railways still in the taxiways. When the wingtips were near that metal, it will give you false alignments and give you all kind of ARS trouble. So that's not so with the magnetometer higher up, so it doesn't have this problem. In the older Sovereign aircraft actually, it was also higher up, but this meter was placed a little bit lower and more backwards, and that was giving you trouble with alignment during APU starts. Now, that was one of the reasons why in the Sovereign we had to wait 3 minutes after the batteries were turned on before we could actually start the APU. This was for alignment. Now this is not the case in the Latitude. Latitude does not have any problems when starting the APU for the alignment. Now also the 3 minutes wait was for the old CMC computer. That is the control maintenance computer of the old Sovereign machine. It actually took 3 minutes to complete its boot cycle. Again, in Latitude this does not apply, because our boot cycle only takes 10 to 15 seconds before it completes. So the 3 minutes is written in Part B, so we will have to comply with it until it changes. But as Wichita told me, it's based on the Sovereign aircraft and not on the Latitude. In front of the COM3 antenna are the hydraulic drains. So they are not antennas, but they're actually drains. The entrance of the air is where the fairing vents are located. Basically in front of the wing, just near the nose area. And this is your radar altimeter. Radar altimeter is always easy to recognize on aircraft, because they are the lowest point of the aircraft itself, so when it is in the landing configuration. In the books it says it's actually the transponder, but this is not the case. The transponder is in front of the wing. There are 4 antennas, 4 small ones, 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top, just in front of the wings. So that completes part 3 of this series of videos, and I hope you enjoyed all the information given here.